Have you ever imagined fitting an entire city of 9 million people into one giant line in the middle of a desert? That's basically what Neom is trying to do. More specifically, it's what they're trying to do with the line. A city that's planned to stretch across the desert for about 170 kilometers. When I first thought about it, I thought it was pretty unrealistic. A futuristic city run by AI with no cars, renewable energy, and giant mirrored buildings? It sounded like something out of a film. And that's kind of why so many people are fascinated by it. But the more I looked into it, the more I started questioning whether this is actually a good idea. For me, the first issue is the city design itself. Cities usually develop around different centers. Most of the peripheral activities usually point to a single activity center in the middle of a city. But the line puts everything into one long corridor. Yes, the project mentioned that everything will be within 5-minute walking distance, but I just keep wondering, what happens if something goes wrong? What happens if transportation gets disrupted? Or when the city needs to expand in the future? It's a really bold idea, but it also feels like a huge experiment. Then there's also the sustainability argument. Neom is often advertised as a green city, and I think that's a great goal. But building a megastructure of this scale in the middle of a desert takes an enormous amount of materials, energy, and water. So while the final city might be environmentally friendly, the progress of getting there is a lot more complicated. And lastly, there's one more thing that made me disagree with the project the most. It was about the people who already lived there. Before Neom was planned, the area wasn't empty. It was home to local communities, like the Al Huaytat tribe. As construction moved forward, many residents were relocated, and there was even been reports of forced displacement and conflicts with people who opposed their leaving land. And that's where I started asking myself a different question. If you're talking to build the city of the future, shouldn't the people who already live there have a place in that future too? Now, I don't think Neom should be scrapped completely, but if I could redesign it, it'd probably be focused on building it in phases rather than trying to create one massive megastructure all at once. So, instead of trying to build a 170-kilometer city all at once, I'd start with a much smaller section first and treat it like a test run. That way, planners could see whether the transportation systems and overall city design actually work before spending even more resources on the expansion. If it works well, they can keep expanding it over time based on real world experience instead of just predictions. I'd also make the design more flexible. Cities are constantly changing, and people's needs change too. Rather than committing to one massive plan from the beginning, future sections could be adjusted and improvised based on what residents actually need. And instead of removing existing communities, those communities could just be included in the development process, allowing local residents to benefit from better transportation, services, and job opportunities without being completely displaced. That way, Neom could still be futuristic and ambitious, and it would grow more naturally as a city, learning and improving over time instead of trying to get everything perfect from day one. I admire the ambition behind Neom, but I just don't think that the future of cities is about building the biggest or most futuristic thing possible, but it's about building places that are practical, adaptable, and actually work from the people who live in them.